Hey, Dan, how are you? Wow, look at you. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining us. All right, all right. Looks like. Hey, Danica. Hey, hey, Mr. Lands. Just for you, my friend. Let's do this. Here we go. Hey, Mike. I am interstatal. Hey, Linda. I am duo. Interstatal. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a 3-year anniversary Angie's Angles. I want to thank everybody that's on here. Danny, Danica, Elaine, Linda, Mike, Harold, Mark Brooks, my brother from another mother. I am interstatal, no quadruple interstatal, if you know what I mean. So yes, April 1, 2021 was my inaugural podcast. And today's April 4th, 2024. So I am 3 years into the podcast. I'm happy to be here celebrating with you all. A happy anniversary to me and to you, because without you, there is no me, if you know what I mean. So let's do a couple housekeeping issues before we get into my diatribe. So Danny's Road to the Show brought to you by DomScalaBaseball.com. Go check it out. If you have a young one in the neighborhood, sign up for Dom Scala Baseball. You shall not be disappointed. So the Longwood Lions are off to a very, very good start. We're 3-0. We had a couple rainouts a la the New York Mets. Danny and the team will be playing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So they're going to definitely be pushed to the brink. So there's nothing to report on the team other than we are 3-0, and we're looking to extend that. Unfortunately, they're outpacing my beloved New York Mets. Last night, I had the most fortunate experience of my life thus far in terms of sports and baseball and my podcast. Mark Brooks, my brother from another who lives in North Carolina, came up to Connecticut to visit his dad who lives in Wallingford. And he reached out to me and says it would be great if we could meet. Work is crazy, but I was able to figure it out, and we met last night at Bobby V's up in Stamford, Connecticut. He brought his adorable granddaughters, Anaya and Ava Lee, and we had a blast at Bobby V's. The girls were so polite, so mature. I didn't know this, but they watched the podcast with their grandfather, Mark. It tickled me pink to meet Mark. He is he's a gentleman that made me the walking stick that I've shown on Facebook and on my podcast. He also was kind enough for my birthday to send me a travel humidor, cigar humidor. And yes, Danny, I was in Connecticut yesterday. That's so funny, Danny. I mean, Danny, do you live with me? Maybe if you came down like Nilla's waiting at the door. Hey, Nick, what's going on, buddy? Representing Adelphi University. So we had a great time. Listen, Mark is way too kind. He sent me many thanks for meeting him. it was equally my pleasure, Mark, and to meet your granddaughters and to share the love of baseball with you, my friend. There is no better story being written than our friendship. So thank you, sir. I know the drive was a little. We both drove an hour and some in a monsoon and nor'easter we had. So not for nothing. We both made the effort, and the effort was worthwhile. So I really appreciated you, Mark, traveling. And it was great to meet up with you. And it's going to go down as a major highlight of Angie's Angles. We actually even did a Wednesday brief podcast. The girls showed up. We posted it on Facebook. I hope you all were able to watch it. We did a little opening, and then we did a Rob Manfred Hates Baseball. And I'm grooming them. Me and Mark are doing our job. We're grooming the future baseball fans to hate Rob Manfred. So anyway, thank you again, Mark, Anaya, and Ava Lee. I love you guys, and it's so fun to see you. So that pretty much takes care of our housekeeping. Nick, I'm going to put you up there on the big screen, Nick, because we have that capability. Nick says, "Hey, what's going on? Glad the Mets finally got a win, but still a 1-5 start is no excuse." And the thing about the Mets 1-5 start and going into the season to a person, I think we all said, "Wow," especially with the addition of JD when he comes up, our offense really, 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 really isn't that bad. But who would have thunk that the Mets hold the best ERA for their starting pitching rotation in the National League? I mean, the New York Mets were pitching to a 2.5, 2.4 ERA for our starters. And, the bullpen hasn't done well. And our offense has been whole. We had 3 hits today, and we managed to win. Compliments of Pete Alonso's dramatic game-tying home run. And Mr. Taylor's, "Hey, Clark, I am quintuple hitter statal." So let's start with the Mets. I mean, where do we start? There's so much to start with. And I'm going to start. I've been validated. I've been acknowledged. I've been proven to be correct. Brandon Nimmo is not a center fielder. And let me tell you something. Okay, so you bring in Harrison Bader, and you deem him, you anoint him your center fielder as long as he's playing. And that was the comment. If Bader's playing, he's our center fielder. But then the next game you got Taylor playing, and where's Taylor playing? Center field, and Nimmo's in left. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the Mets brass also know that Brandon Nimmo is not a center fielder, nor is he a leadoff hitter, because he's abysmal as a leadoff hitter. I mean, he was lucky to have that stolen base today, because if that fielder caught the ball, he's out. Now I don't care what you say. I want to see Taylor in the number 1 spot. Nick says, "No, Clark, he's not hit. He's not hurt yet." So, I want to see Taylor because he's an aggressive hitter. He's working the zone. He swings the bat. I mean, Nimmo's strike 1, ball 2, strike 2, ball 3, ball 4, walk A. And that's the only time you'll see Brandon Nimmo run with a big smile down on his face. That guy is not worth $162 million. Brandon Nimmo's got to go. Oh, my God. No, Danny. Danny, you got to rethink your logic on the leadoff hitter. Yeah, the leadoff hitter's got to get on base, Dan. I agree. But once he gets on base, he's got to get to second base. And that's just not happening. And Clark, yes, your birds are coming back to sanity, 4-4. So here's another thing. Yeah, no, Nick, I have to totally. Oh, I'm sorry, I put the wrong comment up. Kevin Elliott chiming in. I am say tuple in a state with my buddy Kevin Elliott down in. Money well spent on Nimmo for the next 8 years. Nick, I don't know what Kool-Aid you're drinking, but it ain't the Kool-Aid that I'm drinking. Nimmo is not $162 million guy. Zero. Zero, 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 zero. Nimmo is not worth $20 million a year. Hashtag Nimmo sucks. For those keeping track at home, and I know you are. Let's take some positives before I get into my manager diatribe. Positives. Alvarez. He's starting the season determined and on fire. You can't take anything away from this kid. Our starting pitcher, as I so eloquently said in the beginning of the podcast, we're pitching to a 2.5, 2.4 ERA. Who would have thunk it? With the names like Quintana, Budo. I mean, come on, guys. We're pitching amazing games where every game we should be 6-0 at this point with the way our pitching is pitched. And yet we're 1-5. However, that leads us that we're going to be 157-6. Or no, 156-6. I was right, 157-5. We've got 5 losses. So we still have an opportunity to run the board. Now, Kevin Elliott's going to be the biggest distractor here when I say the next positive. Alonso's batting well. Yes, he's not producing in clutch situations at the moment, Kevin. He's had one meaningless home run, but today's home run was tremendous, monumental, if you will, epic, if you want to use the word epic, because that puts some juice, some credibility into our lineup. Yeah, Mark Minnow might be worth about $2 million. You know what? Brandon Nimmo's worth about $12 million a year. I'll give you that, but not any more than that. Not anymore. Oh, my gosh. I also like how Marte looks. Now, Marte started off a home run, hitting the ball hard, but the big thing about Marte is he looks healthy. And I don't know what's going on with Lindor, but I'm not giving up hope on Lindor. I think Lindor, I don't know what he's suffering from, over anxiousness, trying to put the team on his back, making a point. I'm not really sure. But I'm okay with Lindor. It's 6 games. We played in shitty weather. We played under terrible conditions, but so did the Tigers and the Brewers. I'll give you that. But Lindor, I think Lindor is a hot weather hitter. So once the weather breaks, I think we're going to see good things from Lindor. Now the negatives. There are too many for me to mention. Obviously, our relief pitching, we have to get that under our belt. Obviously, our lack of key situational hits, we have to get that under our belt. And when JD Martinez comes up, and I hear it's supposed to be Sunday, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I think they might wait another week, perhaps. I'm not really sure. They shouldn't. There's no reason why JD Martinez can't get. Hey, Mark, thanks for joining us. I don't know why JD, with the current situation in the Mets offense, can't get his timing in the major leagues. So if you're concerned about his bat speed and this and that and this, let him get it under real-time game conditions with major league pitching. Now, I'm just gearing up. So I've been proven and vetted and prophesized about Nimmo, right? The Mets also believe that he's not a center fielder. So, all right. You know who else is not doing his job? The manager. Carlos. The team ain't even hitting below the Mendoza line. They're hitting worse than that. And Carlos Mendoza, like a stooge, is putting these lineups. And granted, he's a puppet for David Stearns, who got stood up at the altar by Craig Counsell, for God's sakes. And they had to pivot fast because they fired Buck Showalter, having to pay his last year's salary because he was under a 3-year deal, and they cut him loose after 2. But let's bring in Carlos freaking Mendoza, a skanky no less, who 17 years in the Yankee organization got a cup of tea as the bench coach. When you have Aaron Boone being booed out of the stadium, and you don't even have the nerve, the oomph, to elevate Carlos Mendoza to be your manager in the most amazing skanky situation that you say this guy is the perfect soldier. You didn't think high enough of Carlos Mendoza to make him a manager. But no, Steve Cohen, David Stern says, oh, he's got great pedigree coming from the Skankies. He's our guy. Yeah, he's our guy. You're batting McNeil fourth. And there's another guy that's not worth his salt. McNeil's got to go. Nimmo's got to go. Bring up the boys. Acuna, Gilbert, bring them up. Hell, bring Vientos up. I don't care. Get rid of Stewart. If you want, get rid of Bader, Kevin Elliott. I'll give you that much. Carlos Mendoza could have put a lineup to beat a Little League team out there. I'll put him up against any team I coached. And Harold says McNeil's a crybaby. I cannot agree more. Call it what you will, but that slide was perfectly legal. It was clean. And McNeil's crying the blues. And then the Mets don't have the Quiones to hit Hoskins in his first at bat. We got to wait to the seventh inning and throw the ball into the next county. And then suffer the ejection of the pitcher. And Mendoza, Brandon, my brother, I am St. Tupel, Estero, baby. And Mendoza doesn't even have the nerve, the courage to go out and argue his pitcher being thrown out of a game where the batter didn't even get hit. The last 2 years, the Mets are leading the National League in hit by batsmen. Alonso took two to his noggin, and neither time did the pitcher get ejected. And let's not forget who was in charge of Major League punishments. The old Grand Skanky himself, Joe Torre. And if you ever see Joe Torre walk out on the field, it looks like he's walking with a stick shoved up where the sun don't shine. And Joe Alberti, if you're listening to this live or post-podcast, Torre's horrible. James Krause is in the house. What's up, brother? Officer Lennon, nice to see you. Oh, my God. Man, I mean, when will the Mets learn? When? Just when? First-year managers don't work well with the New York Mets. It doesn't work. Willie Randolph, Mickey Callaway, Carlos freaking Mendoza. You can't make this up, guys. You can't. We take 2 games, extra innings. We get the goddamn ghost runner on second base. And we can't produce. And today's game, let me tell you about today's game with Nimmo and left. Nimmo had to make a play on that ball. The situation called for him to go all out. That ball bounced a half a foot in front of the fence, but it wasn't a line drive, it was a rainbow. And you had the center fielder right next to him. So if you make the valiant play, the effort, and you miss the ball, no harm, no foul, because your fielder was backing you up. Hashtag Brandon Nimmo sucks. You got to go and get that ball or make an effort. You do a couple of things. The runners seen you going for the ball. They're going to hold up a little bit. You miraculously catch that ball, and if they're halfway to third or home, you got a double play. Hey, Brett, what's going on? Brett Maletta. I don't know, say tuple interstitial, and we're blowing it up tonight on Angie's Angles 3-year anniversary broadcast. And Nick Troiano, the voice, is back, my brother. You are a troll, Brett, but you're my troll, and I love you, brother. Brett Maletta, he's a nice guy. You see what I did there, Brett? A little inside humor for me and Brett. I can't believe it's at 8:50 already. The Mets need a Wally Backman. The Mets need a Ray Knight. The Mets need a ball player, a pitcher that's going to put it in your rib cage if you mess with one of my guys. The Mets need a soul. They are soulless today. I don't care that we won. In my opinion, we got lucky that we won. That's my humble opinion. Nick Troiano, yes, we just signed Julio Teheran. And they're talking about starting him in Atlanta. And if that's not irony, I don't know what is irony. Julio Teheran had some good runs. Good runs. Yeah, Clark, we need a Nolan Ryan, right? We need a Randy Johnson. We need a Bob Gibson. We need a pitcher that's going to defy the manager and do what he's supposed to do. We need a baseball player. We need a guy that's down and dirty, who does slides like Hoskins, who does a clean, legal slide. When I played ball, gents and ladies, I went in. I went in cleats hard. I tell Danny all the time, it's senseless to dive into second base hands first. Because that field is not afraid of your hand, especially wearing the oven mitt. They don't give a crap about your hand hurting them. But you come in with those spikes at their ankles, and that's a clean slide, they're going to get out of your way. Right, Harold? Let's put that up, Harold. Harold's dialing in saying those guys don't exist in today's game, and I cannot disagree at all, Harold. Here, Kevin, I'm going to give you some credit because this is true. The Mets have zero sense of urgency, and that is a reflection of their manager. And let me not get started. Let me not get started by McNeil and Nimmo tempering their spring training at bats because they want to save themselves for the Major League season. You're getting paid $20 million. Play the game. All of us, we go to a job. We're getting paid what we could get paid. And we show up. Rain, snow, sleet, nor'easters. And we get the job done. Why? Because that's our job. That's our responsibility. And if you don't see that on the New York Mets today, then you're blinded and Stevie freaking Wonder. We're at the 8:53 mark. I might go overtime. I might go into that extra innings. Take a little sip of my Guinness. Our prayer circle is as follows. Harold. Praying for Dawn Squared, both your wife. Hey, Steve, how are you? Thanks for signing on, baby. Excuse me. We're praying for your wife and your co-worker, Dawn, and your friend, Ed. You got to give us updates on Ed, please. Scott Tobias, we're praying for your mom and your wife that they continue their recovery. Linda Stein, we're praying for your dad as always, as he battles his health challenges. Mark Brooks, my brother from another, the honor was all mine last night, Mark Brooks, all mine. We're praying for your dad, and I'm glad you got to see him, and for yourself. And we're praying for you and your family for safe travels back to North Carolina. And give those two granddaughters a big hug and kiss from me. Kevin Elliott, even though we agree a lot, we're praying for your health challenges, my friend. The Krause family, we're praying for Aubrey as she continues her remission with cancer. And we pray that it stays like that. Martha, my co-worker at Adelphi University, as she recovers from her surgeries and her illness. Clark, you were gracious enough to give me an update on your brother-in-law, Brad. Results are outstanding. He's doing well. Your sister, Trisha, we pray for them. Deb and Lee down in Maryland, we are praying for you. Down in Maryland, as Lee's faces his challenges with his health. Fred, my friend here in the lounge, we're praying for your rotator cuff surgery. Ray Capers, another buddy at Adelphi, he's fighting the fight and he's doing well. He's recovering well. Coach Courtney, your brother-in-law Calvin's in our prayers, along with your sister Pat. Big John in the cigar lounge, we're praying for your friend Irene and your friend Phil's grandmother. Mr. McGowan, sir, we do have your 6. And Mr. McGowan, we got to get you here. We got to get you here. my good high school friend, Marianne, her mom, as she's facing her challenges health-wise. Tom Altabrano, out there in the lounge, we're praying for your friend Paul. He's having a tough time with the chemo. Another friend of the lobby, Richie, as his wife is battling her illnesses and health challenges in the hospital. And I think Nick, I'm sorry, Nick, your friend Richard's uncle who passed away, so we're praying for their family as well. So Kevin's reminding us that our DH position is hitless as well. I'm not really sure that's accurate. I think Alvarez had a hit as a. Oh no, you're right. He wasn't the DH. You're right, Kev. So I apologize. Kevin's usually not wrong with his stats. So I imagine this plane ride could have been a lot worse, and not so much. I don't think so much for the team, but for the fans, right? Because now we're taking off at a LaGuardia or JFK, and we're headed out to Ohio, to Cincinnati to play the Reds. Now, I called this 2 years ago. I said the Reds are a playoff team. They've got a good young team. So, hey, Darcy, thanks for logging on. I appreciate you, hon. We'll get together, Darcy. You can do your tequila, and I'll do my vodka. But you might have to sit between me and James because I can't stand the smell of tequila. Tequila kills me. Anyway, we're day 57 mark, guys. I got one more thing to say. For all those who know who Frank the Tank is, he's this big idiot who's tried to become famous, and he's gotten his 10 to 15 minutes of fame. However, I issued him a challenge a couple days ago, about 3 days ago, I think it was. I put a challenge out to him. I put a challenge out to Barstool to get me on the air, to put my podcast out there, to have my family rally around me and my podcast. And the very next day that I challenged Frank the Tank, SNY came out with a directive to no longer put him on SNY. And this guy's just awful. He's not a true representative of podcasters or even us Met fans. He curses religiously, drops the F-bomb all over the joint. Kids are watching this. Yeah, I'll throw a S-word out there occasionally. But I know I have kids watching, and although Danny's 18, I still consider him a kid. Danica's a kid. So I try to be respectful on the podcast. Frank the Tank is done. He's a memory. He had his 10 to 15 minutes of fame. But if Barstool Sports gets a wind of me, I'd like to come on. I'd like you to advertise me. I'd like to have a chance to express my platform. So why not, right? Let's do this. We're at the 8:59 mark. My blood pressure is through the roof. We take on the Reds. We wish Danny and the Longwood Lions a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Much success. Danny's hitting the ball hard. It's just going into gloves. Danny, fear not, it'll happen. I know you got your first hit of the season, so that's off your plate. Just continue to do what you do, Danny. This has been a 3-year anniversary podcast of Angie's Angles. And from the bottom, and West Coast Dave Prince, I don't think I acknowledge you being here, so thank you. All right, Harold, let's do it. Let's do it, Harold. And Mark Brooks, I hope Anaya and Ava Lee are watching, and they're going to join us. Hey, Dave, what's going on? Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball. Rob Manfred hates baseball ad nauseum. And one last parting shot to baseball and Rob Manfred. The Oakland A's today have announced that they're moving to Scranton, Sacramento, California, to play in a minor league ballpark that houses 10,000 fans for the next 3 years because they can't get their act together in Las Vegas. They've hit roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And I feel very badly for the Oakland A's fans who have supported that team their entire existence. And they had some really great teams back in the 70s. The fact that they're going to a minor league ballpark is a travesty. An absolute disgrace to Major League Baseball. What are you going to do next, Rob Manfred? Bring the king in his court, the softball team, to enter the Major League standings? Rob Manfred, get your head out of your hiding, for God's sakes. Bring the game back that all of us here love, desire. We crave it. Bring back baseball like it ought to be, Rob Manfred. Frank the Tank, put that in your hat. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. 3 years. Most of you have been with me to 3 years. I can't do this without you. I love yous. I appreciate you giving up all your time on a Thursday night for this crazy guy. I'm going to be here as long as I breathe every Thursday night. Missed 2 in 3 years. And one was a tragic time that I lost when my father-in-law died. I don't need any nitroglycerin, Dave. I'm doing all right. I got my Guinness, I got my cigar, and most importantly, I got you. So one last shout out to Mark Brooks, my brother from another, Anaya and Ava Lee. You made my year. I got to tell you, it was my pleasure and my honor. This has been Angie's Angles 3-year anniversary podcast coming to you live. Smoke Therapy, 215 Ronkonkoma Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. If you're ever in the area, please come down. Good night. God bless. I love you.